Hello and welcome. It's lovely to have you here today. This is the post for the video on the full moon happening on the 7th of October or the 6th, depending on where you are in the world. Here in the UK, it will be at 4:48 in the morning, early morning, and it will be occurring at 14 degrees and 8 minutes of Aries. And of course, because it is a full moon, it will be opposite the sun in Libra. This is a powerful full moon. It is a supermoon. It will look very large. And although some astrologers dispute whether that has any more influence, I think that at the very least, if only psychologically, of course it does. It impresses us even more than usual. Apologies for the barking that you may be able to hear in the background. That's my dog Chubbs. I've been playing ball with him and he's calling me saying, come on, keep playing. But I'm afraid I have to be here, Chubbs, and do something else just at the moment. The themes that I'm going to be concentrating on for this full moon are really those of the chaotic environment that we find ourselves in, and I think none of us can have any doubt about that. These are chaotic, disturbing times, and also the feelings that are coming up for us at the moment, in particular in those areas of our woundings, of those areas of ourselves where we feel insecurities, where we feel vulnerabilities. Those are the key issues that for me are coming up in the psychological, personal sense for us at this time. There can be no doubt that Aries, especially the early degrees of Aries, have been such a key focus for us. Because this is the world axes, this is the start of the zodiac, and we've had whole conglomerations of planets making aspects there or gathering there. In particular, the Saturn Neptune conjunction, let me get it right, Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which has been there. We now obviously have Saturn retrograding back into Pisces. And it's very much about changes coming in, about new beginnings. But of course, this full moon in Aries is opposite the sign of Libra. Aries is very much about the individual, about sovereignty, self-expression, being individual and who we are. But Libra, the full sun in Libra, which is opposite, is throwing the light to say, how can we claim our selfhood fully and independently, but do so without trampling on others? And at the moment, I think this is part of the problem, isn't it, in our world, is that people see that their right to exist is at the expense of another group of people's right to exist. And we're being asked here to look at a new ethics, a new way of being. How can we move forward, both being ourselves, but being mindful of others, being mindful of the human family? Where Jupiter still in Cancer asks us to remember and extend this Cancerian concept of family to other peoples, other creatures, to the earth itself, to remembering all are one. And how can we move in a more harmonious, considerate way forward? We also have Venus in Virgo, and Venus in Virgo is trining Jupiter in Cancer. And again, this is saying, how can we reach more precise ethical basis? How can we realign our values to be fit for purpose, fit for humanity and for the future. The day after the full moon on the 7th, so on the 8th, we have a conjunction in Aries between Chiron, our wounds, our vulnerabilities, and Eris, the goddess of chaos. And this is a really very, very strong theme. This is the second conjunction that these two have made this year, and they will make a third in February, I think it is, of 26. But this is very, very significant. This will really be throwing up these themes that I've been mentioning. Now, let me remind you a little bit about Eris. She is the sister of Mars, and known as the goddess of chaos. She was the goddess who was not invited to a large social gathering of the Olympians. And in her disgust and annoyance, she threw a golden ball in amongst a group of goddesses, saying, "For the fairest." This set the goddesses in rather foolish, egoic competition. And anyway, long story short, it ended up being the basis of the Trojan Wars. And the whole idea behind the myth of Eris is this of disruption being caused. But you see, if you look at the story, it wasn't really Eris that caused the disruption. It was the ego of the goddesses, if you like, who fell instantly into bitter rivalry about who was the fairest, and this idea of competing rather than working together. And it is that which is the principle which causes chaos. But we can certainly see that Eris can be seen to represent those groups of people who feel excluded, reviled, outcast, those kinds of feelings. And of course, those can apply to many, many groups in society and all over the world who can be feeling that. And also to us as individuals. There can be that part of us where we think we have not been invited to the party, and where we want to kick off about it, in much the way that we see so many people at the moment taking to the streets, expressing their discontent, expressing their anger. And Chiron represents that part inside us which feels wounded, that part of us that is small, feels small, inadequate, where we feel a sense of shame, where we feel a sense of inferiority. And you can see how those two elements can really feed off each other in a loop. You know, the chaotic aspects of Eris, and then the wounds, the sort of dark night of the soul wounds that we all have somewhere in our chart. You will have Chiron, and there you will have that wounding. And we can see how these can whip up into even more chaos, even more of a turmoil and storm. So I think what we're being invited to do is to look at our wounds, to bring them into consciousness, to acknowledge them in order to heal them. Because if we look at the myth of Chiron, it was the very fact that Chiron was wounded which gave him the insight to become such a skilled and amazing healer. In this sense, Chiron is a shamanic archetype. It's this archetype of the shaman who suffers in order to bring back healing for the tribe, for the community. And in the same way, I think we can look at our own wounds, just to acknowledge them, be at peace with them, forgive ourselves for them if you like, and find that point where we too have a medicine, have a healing that we can offer into the world, and where we can calm, if you like, these storms of chaos that are whirling all around us. The day before our full moon, Mercury will go into Scorpio. Now, in Scorpio, Mercury is very deep, investigative. It likes to drill down. It likes to really get down to the bedrock and explore. It's quite relentless. But in this instance, it's also squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And so this can be quite obsessional. It can be a time where we're feeling conscious, very conscious of very, very deep feelings. Some of these may be really ancestral woundings that we're carrying, quite deep things. There may be also deep pains coming up from the societal positions that we occupy. Could also be a time where secrets are dug out and revealed, and those may be on the world stage or personal. And of course, those too, be they our secrets or the secrets of those close to us, can add to the sense of chaos and disturbance. And I think this is where the Aries full moon can be very helpful to us, because Aries is that sign that asks us to find our courage. It's not automatically given to us, but it asks us to find our courage. And I think we are being asked to find our courage, to do this healing work and help restore a balance into our world. The orbit of Chiron is very interesting. It moves at times between the orbits of Saturn and of Uranus. So between the known world as the known part of the solar system as exemplified by Saturn, and that which is beyond, Uranus, the outer planet there. And there's this idea that Uranus perhaps holds the fundamental truth of who we are. And we're trying through Chiron to find that. And then bring that knowledge into our world. Bring it past Saturn, down into the world. I've drawn some cards for this full moon. Now, the first two I'm going to show you, I haven't selected, I haven't drawn from the pack. They're actually the cards associated with 14 degrees of Aries and Libra on the zodiacal wheel. And this is the card for 14 of Aries, and this is the Three of Wands. It's actually Sun in Aries, this card, but we have it here for the placement of this full moon at 14 degrees. This is saying our ship is going to come in. We have the world potential in our hand, we have it all to play for, but we require patience, we require steadying. And I think this is helped by the fact that Mars, ruler of the full moon, is in Scorpio. I have talked a little about the intensity of Scorpio, but one of the things it does do is make Mars more considered, more thoughtful, able to hang back if necessary. So we're seeing a sign that patience is needed here, not rashness. We don't need rash actions. And then the card for the 14 degrees of Libra is this, the Three of Swords. And I think this exemplifies heartache. And yeah, we are feeling heartache. I think most of us are very familiar with this feeling, with this card. But the threes are all about growth. And our invitation is to grow beyond the point that we're in, so that those swords drop out of the heart and the heart is free of the heartache that is affecting us at this time. Let's take a look then at the three cards that I did shuffle the deck for and pull. And they're interesting ones. The Ace of Cups. You know, an opportunity here to begin with compassion, to find compassion. Very much needed, I think. It's something that our world seems to be forgetting about, doesn't it? And this is this sense of loving connection that we're needing. And the Page of Pentacles, let's start, you know, this potential for a new earth, a new beginning. So two cards of potential, the Ace and the Page here. These are new starts that are possible, things that can come into being. And then the Queen of Cups, the need for empathy, the need for healing of the self and healing others, which is very much this theme of Chiron. I made a video about a year ago called Chiron, Our Wounds, and I'll put a link to it below this video, because if you haven't seen it, I think what's discussed there will actually throw light on this video and on some of the things that I'm mentioning about Chiron today. And there is another video that also may possibly bear relevance to this, and that is the one entitled The Devil, How We Give Away Our Power. And I will link both of those below, because I think their themes are coming up for us very much with this full moon. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. Just to make it absolutely clear, I am always speaking to myself as much as to anybody else, in the sense that I feel very much that I'm living through the energies of these times. I feel a lot of the planetary energies very, very strongly. And certainly, you know, my life is as full of the events that are going on around us as anybody else's. And I do take a lot of comfort from being part of a little community like this, where you know, we're able to travel this road together, I suppose. So I will wish you a fond farewell for now, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. And in the meantime, you know, send love to you, love to us all. We need it, don't we? And to our earth, and to all of the other amazing creatures who share this earth with us. Let's look for peace, let's look for healing, let's look to a better time.